Hey there, welcome back. So today we are going to be fixing 3 separate issues, and I'll try to remember to put time codes for these issues in the description down below. The first problem we're going to be fixing is making our input a little more compatible with Unity's native input system so that we're not hard coding the buttons to use. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to fix an issue that happened when we left the room and came back. Enemies would come back with 0 health already and in a stagger state, so they wouldn't wake up. And then the third thing that we're going to fix today is our screen shake. We're going to bring it back using Unity's Cinemachine. So let's jump right in. Jumping right in, this episode isn't going to add any functionality. Instead, we're just going to go through and make a few small fixes to what we've already input. The first issue is as far as the player input goes. If you'll notice as you're playing, if you've ever tried to use an Xbox controller with our game so far, it will work perfectly fine for moving and for attacking. And the reason why is if we go to our edit function here and go down to project settings and input, we have this 19th axis that was added for attack. And we told Unity that attack, A-T-T-A-C-K, is, we can add a descriptive name if we need to, but the positive button is our space bar or joystick button 0. And joystick button 0 is the A button. We have a very low dead zone, especially since this isn't an analog function, that's fine, and our sensitivity is very high. The type is going to be key or mouse button, and we don't need to worry about the axis, and for joy number it's get motion from all joysticks, so we're good there. Now, what we want is we want to make sure that this is going to work not just for attack, but also for interacting with signs, interacting with treasure chests, and interacting with doors. Those are the 3 things that we've input that didn't use this. So, what we can do here, I don't need to add anything extra. I can just use my main attack one here. And I'm going to go and open up those 3 scripts. I'm going to open up the script for the treasure chest, the door, and for signs. And I just so happen to have them already open here. So for the treasure chest script, I'm going to go down to the update. And in update, it's get key down keycode.space. I want to change that from get key down to get button down. And the button I'm looking for is, in quotations, attack. Alright, so that's the treasure chest. And I don't think we need to... Nope, we're good. For the sign, again, I'm going to change this from get key down to get button down. Get button down. And then the name of the button is attack. Alright, there we go. And then last one, the door, instead of get key down, this is going to be get button down. And the button is going to be attack. So this is just something that I have a tendency not to do until I'm coming back through and looking at stuff again. My first pass at coding something, I have a well, not always, but I have a tendency to hard code a value instead of making it system agnostic using Unity's input system. So there we go. Also, because I'm going to be covering a few topics in this video, I'll try to include a time code down below for when you can jump around to find whatever topic I'm going to cover. But if I forget to do that, please just somebody leave a comment and I'll see that, and then I will add time codes for these. So the first thing we're fixing is a little bit of an issue with our input system. The second thing that needs fixing here, and I'll show you what it is. Alright, so everything's saved just fine. I'm going to, in my room here, going to destroy my 3 logs that exist, and I'm going to jump over to the other room. So I'm going to let this think for a second. There we go. So there's 1 log down. There's 2 logs down. And then here's the 3rd one. Now if I jump over to the other room, and if I jump back now, you'll notice these logs aren't chasing the player. They exist, and they're animating themselves, but they're not chasing anymore. So what I want to do here is I'm going to pause this, and I just want to investigate what's going on with these logs. So if I highlight one, log 1 here, I can see that currently, its health is 0, so that's an issue. Secondly, as far as its target, it does know what its target is, it does know what its chase is. Its current state, though, is in stagger. So let's open up the log script. I'm going to leave this paused for just a second. And let's try to investigate exactly what's going on here. Alright, so when we're checking our distance with these chase logs, we check to see if our current state is idle or walk and not stagger. So these are starting in the stagger state. And the reason they're starting in the stagger state is that's the state they left in. So when you're attacking them, every time you attack, you put them into the stagger state. And then when they die, they were still in that state before they die. And then when we reinstitute them or reinstantiate them, we reinstantiate them in whatever state they were when they were deactivated. Or not reinstantiate, reactivate. When we reactivate them in whatever state they were in when they were deactivated. So I'm going to have to take a look at my log script here to fix this. The second thing is that the health being 0. Right now the health should be 2. So let's fix that too. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up the base enemy script. And I already have an onEnable function here. Now my onEnable function is setting the transform.position, but there's 2 other things I want to set. The next thing I want to set is health is equal to max health dot initial value, so that we're resetting the health back to what it should be. And then I'm also going to change the state. So I'm going to say current state is equal to, and the state that I want it to begin in, let's see here, am I setting it? I guess I'm not setting it in anywhere. My current state I'm going to set to be idle, enemy state.idle. So I'm going to save that. Let's pop back into Unity here. It's going to save for just a second. I had seen that some people had come up with their own solutions to this, and those solutions are totally fine. I just want to take advantage of the onEnable function that already exists in Unity so that I don't have to go about too complex of a solution without using Unity's built-in features. So I'm going to kill these 2. Alright, and then all 3. I'm going to leave. I'm going to come back, and I'm going to have them chase me for just a second. Now, if I go back and take a look at this log now, you'll see that it has a health of 2, and its state was correct. It was in the right state. Alright, so I'm going to exit play mode here. I'm going to save this. Now, the third issue that we're having is with the screen kick. Now, this isn't causing any null reference errors or anything like that. So the issue is more with what we added using the Cinemachine. So if I go to my enemy, I still get knocked back, but the screen kick doesn't kick in. And the reason it doesn't is because the orthographic size, which is what we were using to make the kick, is no longer controlled by the main camera. Instead, now it's controlled by the virtual camera that is in that room. So if I were to go to the main camera and change the orthographic size, and even go back into play mode so long as I'm not being chased, if I were to go to the main camera and change the orthographic size from 6 to say 4, it changes right back to 6. And that's because the orthographic size is now being controlled by the orthographic size under lens on the virtual camera. So if I change this to 4, it'll actually change to 4 and then back to 6. So this causes a little bit of an issue, but it's not necessarily one that we can't fix. So let's talk about how to make a screen kick or screen shake using Cinemachine. Alright, so now as I make changes to this virtual camera, I'm going to need to remember to change the virtual camera that's in every other room, essentially. So I'm going to take a look at room 1 VCam here, and I want to add a new extension to it. And the extension I'm going to add is an impulse listener, Cinemachine impulse listener. I'm going to check on use 2D distance, and my channel mask I'm going to leave as default, and I'm going to leave my gain as 1. Okay, sorry about that weird cut. So what I'm going to do now that I have my Cinemachine Impulse Listener on my camera, I'm going to go to my player object, and I'm going to add a new component. My new component is going to be a Cinemachine Collision Impulse Source. Now, there's a lot of stuff you can do to mess with this. I just want the players, I just want a little bit of screen kick or a little bit of screen shake when the player hits an enemy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Signal Shape, and there's a little yellow icon here because this is where most of the magic comes from. I'm going to create a new signal source, so I'm going to click the gear. I can use some of the presets, but I don't want to. I'm going to make my own thing. So I'm going to make a new, let's go with new noise settings. And I need to save this as something. I already have a place where I'm saving signals, so even though I know that this is a different signal, I'm going to save it in my scriptable objects signals folder. And I'm just going to call it player raw signal. That's fine. Now, if I go to this object, player raw signal, my preview time is going to be very, very short. Let's go for like 0.2. I'm also going to create some noise here. I'm not going to rotate on the X or Y axis, but I will rotate on Z, and I'll make a little bit of a shake on the X and Y axes. So I'm going to open up these two, X and Y. I'm going to add a new one for both. My X frequency, I'm going to make pretty high, and then my amplitude, I'm going to leave it at like 0.25. Now my Y frequency, I'm going to make pretty high too. Let's go with like 8 on both of these. And my Y amplitude, I'm going to make a little bit different, say 0.2. And you can see the two of them mixed up here. I'm going to actually go even less with my amplitude. Let's go like 0.1. This is creating a wave function that the camera is going to be moving on. So the X position is going to be moving along this wave function, and the Y position is going to be moving along this wave function. If I increase the frequency, I'm increasing the number of waves that fit, and if I increase the amplitude, I'm increasing or decreasing how many, how high that peak is. So I'm going to go 0.1. I just want to have it so that it roughly ends pretty close to where it starts. So I'm going to have to increase my frequency here on X. Okay, I'm going to leave my amplitude 0.1. I'm going to make one for rotation Z. And same thing, I'm going to make my amplitude pretty small. And we'll go like that with my frequency. Cool. Now if I go back to my player, right now this is going to trigger as soon as the player interacts with anything. I want it to only happen with certain layers. So I'm going to go to my trigger object filter, my layer mask. I'm going to set my layer mask to enemy because I already created that enemy, and I'm going to uncheck default. So I only want it to happen on the enemy layer. Now there's a whole lot more that I can do to play with this, but let's test it out. So if I hit play now, it's going to think for a second. So if I go over to my enemy, I get this nice little kick. And you can play with that signal to get it to be however you want it to be. And I get that when my, so I guess I get a nice little kick when I hit with my sword too. I wonder, okay, so I wonder if I could make a different listener for my hitboxes. I probably could. I haven't tried this yet, so if you out there in YouTube world want to try to make a different collision signal source for your hitboxes than for your player to see if that makes any difference, you can. But I think this adds kind of a nice touch, and it's a way to fix that effect that we lost from changing over to Cinemachine. So the last thing that needs to be done is you need to make a Cinemachine room for all of the rooms in your project. So I'm going to do that off camera, but yeah, so those are the main things that we're going to be dealing with today. Is number one, a little bit better integration with Unity's input system. Number two, fixing a bug that happened when we left the room after destroying the enemies and then coming back into the room where they were just kind of asleep and died in one hit. And then three, fixing the screen shake. So, like I said, if I don't remember to put time codes for those in the description down below, please let me know. and I will add them. So, hope everybody out there has yourselves a wonderful day. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving a like, subscribing to the channel, or telling a friend who might be interested. Also, please consider following me on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can earn access to tangible rewards, like early access to videos, backer-only videos and series, polls for future topics, streams, and even individual tutoring sessions. You can find a link to that in the description. And as always, have yourselves a wonderful day.